Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today, we are going to be previewing Detroit's 5th overall selection in the 2024 draft, Ron Holland's rookie season. We'll go through 4 categories and dissect and set expectations for what or how I foresee Ron's rookie season in the Motor City playing out. We'll recap his Summer League performance and some of his G League stuff. We'll go through his predicted role for the upcoming season, a biggest area for improvement, and then I'll close it out with a hot take for his first season in the league. But before we get into that, I'm your host, Jack Kelly. You can follow me over on Twitter at Pistons_Jack. You can also follow us over on every other social media platform at Pistons_Jack. And if you're feeling so kind, please hit that subscribe button. Ron Holland, bit of backstory, just going back to the pre-draft process. Ron probably wasn't in kind of my top 5 picks for the Pistons, to be honest. I had guys like Reed Shepherd, Alex Sarr, and some other players who were more, how can I put this? Alex Sarr, somewhat of a project, but guys who could help this team more from day one. And keeping in mind, this was before free agency, but I say all this to say that entering draft night, Ron Holland honestly wasn't a guy on my radar that I thought the Pistons would take at pick 5. Now, if they had to trade it back maybe to like 8, 10, somewhere around there, then he would have entered the conversation. But when I saw he was selected at pick 5, I must admit I was excited. I was excited, and maybe that's just purely the fan of me being excited about taking kind of an athletic wing, because honestly, in prior drafts, a guy like Ron Holland, who's 6'7", very decent to good athlete, gets above the rim for finishes, can flash some really nice finishes around the basket as well. He's not just a dunker. That's the kind of player that, for some reason, I'm just always drawn to. So part of me was excited, and I think for a lot of people, draft experts, national media, Ron Holland at pick 5 was kind of the shock of the draft, or at least the lottery, because not many had him penciled in for top 5. And whilst this was a draft that was kind of wide open in terms of talent, like there was no clear cut 1, 2, or 3, it was kind of still a massive shock to see Ron taken at pick 5, particularly with the roster makeup the Pistons have with their young core. And that was kind of a reason why the Pistons have copped some flack for the pick. But I think now that we're a few months removed, and we have a summer league to look back on with him playing with some of the young core and finding his way, I think honestly I'm really excited to watch him as a rookie. And we're going to get into his role here and expectations. And I know a lot of people don't have him in the rotation for the Pistons opening night. Bit of a spoiler, I do. If you follow me on any of my social media platforms, he's always in my 10-man rotations. And I'm going to explain why I think that is briefly. But if we just go back a bit to Ron's Summer League, I think it's worth diving into that, probably more so than his G League Ignite stuff, just for the sake of a quicker video. But a lot of what Ron did at Summer League is kind of how he played at the G League Ignite. And as you can see here, Ron's stats from Summer League: in 4 games, he averaged just under 19 points, which was 5th among rookies, I believe. 6.5 boards, 2.5 assists, 1.5 steals. He also averaged 1 block and shot 41% from the field. And he shot 24% from 3 on 4.5 attempts. So kind of what, if you paid attention and did either you watched the G League Ignite or you scouted Ron a little bit before the draft and watched some of his clips, it's kind of who he was at the G League Ignite. He kind of stuffs the box score, but he's not the most efficient. But I think one thing I wanted to highlight, which for me, at least in the Summer League component, was every single game his scoring went up. But not only did his scoring go up, but more impressively, his efficiency went up. His field goal percentage increased with each of his 4 games at Summer League. And if you watched all those games, or you just watched some of Ron's possessions, highlights, that kind of thing, one thing you'll notice is he started to play a lot more within himself and let the game come to him. And that's going to be an area, kind of something I'm going to touch on in a moment when I talk about areas for improvement. But to see him in kind of a week to 10-day period adjust accordingly and kind of get better with each game, that was a huge positive for me because not only did the efficiency go up, but kind of the scoring output went up. And clearly, as a rookie and probably his first couple of seasons with Detroit, he's not going to get the usage he got in those games. But to see him put up around 20-point mark or more in most of these games, I think that was a really huge takeaway for me because his first game in the summer league, it was pretty brutal. Like he was really struggled. Something he forced a lot of drives, took some really ill-advised kind of shots at the rim and in that floater area. And to see him by the final game kind of play a lot more in control and just a lot more within his skill set while still leaning into his athleticism, I thought was a big positive. And defensively at Summer League, look, it's hard to take a lot from that. A guy like Ron's probably going to get the blocks and steal numbers he had because they're just a superior athlete. Or he is a superior athlete than a lot of the guys there. He's, like I said, has the wingspan, has the size. So nonetheless, so taking nothing away from him, to see those blocks and steals numbers be where they were was impressive. Positionally, he's a rookie. I think his awareness, a lot of like younger guys, he's going to take a minute, but I think he's got the work ethic and the hustle to make a difference on that end. But moving on to kind of the predicted role I see for Ron as a rookie, and I have him, like I said, in my 10-man rotation for the Pistons. I think he's on the fringe. He is that 10th man. He's going to definitely play behind. I have Tobias Harris and Simone Fontecchio as the starting 3-4. I think even if you want to debate that starting group, I don't think anyone's putting Ron Holland ahead of those two. I also have him behind Asar for sure in terms of minutes. And then I have him kind of maybe behind Tim Hardaway Jr. as well, at least to start the season. And then I put Beasley here as well, although I think Beasley's kind of at the 2 with Jaden Ivey splitting those minutes. So I don't foresee him playing a huge amount of minutes. Like I think he's a guy that gets in maybe at the start of the second and fourth quarters for like 2 4-minute stretches, or maybe he comes in with 2 minutes to go in the first and third and plays a 5-minute stint either side. But I do think there's going to be nights where maybe the Pistons are down a lot and he gets more minutes, or maybe he comes in and he gets some steals, has a couple of transition dunks and the crowd's loving it. Like just especially at home, like I think he's a guy that can, similar to Asar last season, like really give this team a bit of a momentum boost if they're struggling, just due to his athleticism and ability to bring the crowd into the game. And I know that's just a small thing, but I think there is certain instances where he will play around 15 to 20 minutes, even if they are kind of scattered. But for me, I think you play your 5th overall pick, especially with this Pistons team. I think Ron certainly has the ability to come in and give this team 5 to 10 minutes of an injection of life, athleticism, and really get the crowd rocking and help lift the tempo and momentum on the team. I think that's a real thing that shouldn't be discounted. And I think as well, when you invest a top 5 pick in a player, like I just can't see him playing in the G League. And plenty of people have said that, and I get it. I just don't see why you put your top 5 pick in the G League, especially when they just played a whole season there. We've seen how he goes against G League competition. We saw how Saban Lee went against G League competition. Now, I know you can say, well, Jack, you send him there with a strict set of guidelines in terms of you go there and you're playing point guard to improve your handle. But I don't know. Maybe I'm a fool, but I just don't see that. Like we've seen Ron dominate G League play. Even if he was on losing teams, he's put up huge numbers. Like I think he needs to figure out how to play alongside Cade, to play alongside Jaden Ivey, see if he can coexist on the floor with Asar. Like he needs to figure out how to play alongside those guys, because for his first couple of seasons, in my opinion, he's not going to get a lot of the ball. So he needs to figure out and find chemistry with cutting and figuring out how to fill the right gaps on the floor offensively if teams aren't going to defend him. And just those kinds of things, I think that's a lot more important than sending him to the G League to just focus on his playmaking solely and not getting him NBA reps. That's just my opinion. I think you can play him 5 to 10 minutes each night and he can give you something. And if, say, he comes in at the end of the first quarter and stinks it up, that's it for him. Like, I think with the beauty of this season is the Pistons have a lot more veterans that you just say, look, Ron, you don't have it tonight. Sit this one out, learn from this, come in next game with a new renewed focused or that kind of thing. I think that's also a real thing. So I have him in my 10-man rotation. Maybe JB plays 11 players and Ron's at 11th, but I think he gets minutes on a consistent basis, if not every game he's available for. Moving on to areas for improvement, I kind of hinted at it earlier, but for me, it's very similar to Asar Thompson. It's very, very similar. I think the shooting, of course, that's something that needs to come around. He cannot be a 20%, 25% three-point shooter, especially with where he's at now as a player. I think, like Asar, though, it's more of a long-term thing. I have more faith in his jump shot. I think he showed a lot more as a jump shooter than Asar did at the Summer League. And just his willingness to take them. Sometimes Asar, I remember at Summer League, was very hesitant to shoot. And he obviously turned that around a little bit as a rookie, but I think there's just a lot more there to work with Ron's jumper than Asar kind of had coming into the NBA. So that's more of a 2 to 3 year process for me with working with Fred Vincent, though. If he could shoot close to 30% as a rookie, I think that would be huge. If he gets to 30% or more, that's a bonus in my opinion. But I think where I want to see him improve and kind of really just build a solid base is just this overall decision making and kind of court awareness and awareness of his game. Because like I said at Summer League, in his first game or 2 games especially, his kind of lack of, I guess he just forces things is the best way to put it. He really forced some tough drives and drives that honestly, like he got blocked a lot at Summer League. And honestly, at the NBA level, I just think it's going to be 5 times as worse with the level of shot blocking in the league. And I think if he can just figure out the right time to drive and how to play off his, I guess, veteran players and guys like Cade, I think that'll go a long way to him having a really, really solid and kind of positive rookie season. I've got here as well, kind of just ball handling is another one. He's very upright when he dribbles. He has like kind of a really straight back. It was something that stood out to me immediately, but I think that's something he can work on. Obviously, if Ron Holland's to max his potential, he's going to be that primary or secondary kind of shot creating wing. Long way to go to get there, but he's clearly the handle's got to improve for that to ever eventuate. So I think just to quickly summarize that, for me, it's just kind of awareness and playing within yourself and playing in control is the biggest area for improvement for him in year 1, because I think that'll pay off hugely for his success as a rook. Finally, to kind of wrap it up here, my hot take for Ron Holland is he's a lock for all rookie first team. Now, that's a hot take because the opportunity could wane, but I really do think if he can kind of, especially early on, earn the coaching staff's trust, really play off Cade Cunningham, find his way as a cutter, just really do damage in transition and then show some stuff defensively, I think JB Bickerstaff's going to love him and he's going to play him more than kind of the 10 to 12 minutes I have him penciled in for. And if he can get anywhere in that high 18 minutes to 20 minutes a night, especially post All-Star break, if this team decides to kind of rest some of these vets or they trade some of them, I think he's a guy that, as we saw at Summer League, can just kind of put up, he just stuffs the stat sheet. Like he really does when he gets the opportunity. Like I'm not going to read out all his kind of box score stats here from Summer League, but he's a guy that he pretty much had 5 rebounds or more every game, 2 to 3 assists every game, 2 to 3 steals, a block, and 15 points or more. Like the way he attacks the basketball and the way he attacks either end of the court, he just accumulates numbers. So, and for that reason, I think in a weaker class, I think that if he can just be positive and really play within himself and just focus on rebounding and that kind of thing, I think he could be a lock for that all rookie first team. So that's my hot take. That's going to do it today for Ron Holland. Really, really excited to watch him as a rookie. I'm really excited to watch him as well in a more controlled environment, an environment where he's not going to be asked to come in and be a 30-minute a night starter like a Sar Thompson was or Jaden Ivey. I think it's going to be really beneficial for him. And I think Pistons fans are going to really love Ron Holland once they see him in those first few games, get out in the break, throw some dunks down, have a really nice chase down block. Like, he's going to be a fun player. So I'm high on him. I'm really excited to watch him this season, and really excited to continue these player previews. If there's a player you want me to do next, let me know. I'm going to be trying to churn these out at least once every 2 days. So like I said in my first video, we'll do probably 10 to 11 players. I just did a Sar Thompson, so go check that one out. And I hope you enjoyed today's show. But until my next video, as always, go.